Hello, today's video I want to have a look at how I created poinsettias on these cards. So there's one in silver on some light blue card, and this one is silver on white card. Okay, let me just put the camera up a little bit, it's not picking up the light on that properly. There we are. Let me zoom the camera in, that might be easier. There we are. So there we are, silver veins on some white pearl card on that one. And I've used the same on that card as well. So they make a lovely embellishment for Christmas cards. And the die set I've used, I find are very versatile. So the die set I'm using, which is these dies, they're by a company called Sentimentally Yours. There we are. Okay, so this is actually a printout of the packaging, so you know what it looks like. I haven't got the original, I just took a photo of it. So there's 5 dies in the set. Sentimentally Yours are a small UK company. Phil Martin, it's his company, he's the designer. And they're not intended for use for foiling, so they can be a little bit tricky to work with, but I think they're worth the effort, and I don't think anybody's creating a layered poinsettia set quite like this that is designed for foiling. So these are the dies. So you use them just like a cut and create or cut foil die, but I find I need an extra layer of card to push the cardstock and the foil together to get the detail to come out. But then I do find, you know, I quite often get a fair bit of over foiling on the die cut, as you can see. But I'm going to show you how to deal with that. If I don't use an extra shim, then I find my foiling's a bit patchy. But it depends on the cardstock and the foil, and it might be different on your equipment. So you're going to need to experiment a bit, I'll say that up front. So I have created one of those. I'm going to do some more on some plain cardstock. So this is just plain white, smooth 250 GSM card, uncoated card, not pearl card. So let me do another one of those. I've got space for that size. So I want to set this going while I show you how to deal with the overfoiling on the pearl card. Right, so I'm just going to stick that down. Onto there. I've got a piece of craft card I'm using as an extra shim. So I can just keep reusing that because it hasn't actually cut through. So I can use it a few times is what I'm saying. It won't go on forever, but so let's bring the GoPress foil over. Now on here, it's been warming up, I've got a thin metal shim. And that needs to go down there with the cutting side up, and then I'm going to put my shim on. And then I'm going to put on another thin metal shim. Now these are thin metal shims, the sort of thing you'd use in your die cutting machine if you were cutting fabric or particularly tricky detailed die. Okay, they're just 0.5 millimeters thick, so a thin metal shim, flexible, not the Couture Creations conversion plate, because you just use that on its own. It would be too thick if you put another plate in with it. And then I've got some card shims. So that's a single one, and that's the double thickness of A4 250 GSM card. So 3 thicknesses of card shim I find gives me about the right pressure. Okay, so I put that on there. It needs to go back on the base to warm up. And to make sure the lid stays down well, so that it warms up, I need to put something heavy on there. Just bear with me a second. Just to hold my lid down flat. Right, so the overfoiling on the pearl ones. So if I try and use a sand eraser, something like that, or my Couture Creations Creative Detailer on pearl card, I'm going to spoil the pearl finish. Okay, so I find the best thing to do on pearl card is to get some more of my masking tape that I use and just kind of dab that on to the petals, and it kind of pulls off that excess foil. Obviously the tape gets less and less sticky as you're using it. Okay, so let me just give you a close-up. Let's give you a, there we are. So you can see how much overfoiling, come on focus, I've got on there. Okay, so I'm going to put that down on the table. I'm going to try and put it where you can see it. I'll bring the camera down a bit more. Focus it. There we are. So this one here, let's turn it round where the camera is. Just a little bit. Zoom in as much as I can. There we are. So it's this one here that I showed you close up. So I'm going to dab my tape on it. I'm holding it down with my finger so it can't get bent or torn. I keep moving my bit of tape around so I'm not using the same area of the tape all the time. And then if I bring that up to the camera again, get it to focus. Come on. There we are. You see most of that overfoiling has now gone. There's a bit on the tip. I should do a bit more work on that. Sometimes you need to burnish, focus the camera, burnish the tape down. As I say, that gets rid of most of the overfoiling. It's not managing to find it. Let me put something behind it. There we are. There we are. So that's cleaned up most of the overfoiling and hasn't spoilt the finish on the card. Bring the camera back to normal. Okay, so that's on the pearl card. Now, I did another one of these earlier. You see I've still got some overfoiling on there. I'll take some more of that off. So you might find something like a paper shim gives you just the right pressure and you don't get so much overfoiling. But as I say, you will need to experiment and it will vary with the cardstock you're using. Okay, so that's my pearlescent version. And I did try earlier without the extra shim, but the foiling was a bit faint and patchy. So you might like that kind of effect. It might work for the project you're doing, but I think it's nice to have the option to either be able to go with the lighter version or to have the overfoiling and know how to deal with it. That over there. So this has been warming up long enough, so this needs winding through the die cutting machine. Take the shims off. Just going to grab my metal shim. I've got my piece of, you don't have to use craft card by the way. I just tend to use craft card because I've got a huge stack of it that I bought very cheaply. So sometimes these don't cut all the way through. So sometimes I need to put them through the die cutting machine as well, and I think I do with this one. So I don't bother unstacking it if I can see it hasn't cut. I just put it straight on the die cutting machine with the foil still in the sandwich and die cut it. So let's see what we've got. Oh, there we are, it's falling out now. So I have got some overfoiling on here. Okay, let's bring the camera down a bit. Okay, so we have got some overfoiling on there. I think my camera app has had an upgrade. And it's now doing different things with the focusing to what it used to do. There we are. So you can see I've got some overfoiling on there. So how do we deal with that? Well, to start with, you might want to just try using a brush and see if any of it just brushes away. That's always a good place to start. Not very hopeful in this case, but it's always a good place to start because sometimes you do find that some of it does. And then you can use your Couture Creations Creative Detailer, but where I've got something like this, I find a flat sand eraser. This is a Tombow sand eraser, widely available. I think I bought this one on Amazon. It's got a really rough end and a smoother end. A lot of the time I just use the smoother end. So let me try and zoom in a bit on that. There we are. So all I do, if I've got a lot of overfoiling, I might start with the rougher end and take the worst of it off. And then go with the smoother end, the white end, and remove the overfoiling. Okay, because the foil is pressed quite well into the card, you're not going to spoil the foiling with the rubber because it's not going to get into those lines. There we are. And you can just work your way around your petals. Of course, you could cut into these dies and use them as leaves and with other flowers, you know, not necessarily as a poinsettia is what I'm meaning. So it's quite versatile die, this. So in the video description, I will put a link to Phil Martin's website where you can buy these. There we are. That's the overfoiling removed. I'm going to zoom the camera back out. Put it up a little bit. Okay, and there's foil on these, but you can still shape them. I've got one I started earlier here. So shaping them isn't going to spoil your foiling at all. So you can make them dimensional flowers, whichever way you like to shape your flowers. But this is how I do it. You see, quite rough and ready. Just going to put a spot of glue on there. Now, obviously, these very strong blue lines aren't what I've used on my cards, but I thought it would show up the camera better than the silver. So whatever colour combination you want, you could do red and gold or red and rose gold. try and get the camera to come on that better. There we are. So there we are. So you can use your pearl card and use tape to remove your overfoiling, or you can do it on plain card. And obviously if you don't have to leave the card white, you could use inks on it. If you're using a darker card, you could use things like gilding waxes. So lots of possibilities with those. And as I say, have a look in the video description. It is a UK company. I don't know what countries, if any, they ship to. So this is really a video for my UK followers. But it's such a lovely die. I really just wanted to share it. Thank you for watching.